Hello friends, and welcome to the Season 10 recap of Treaty United, the stream save over on Twitch, which of course will be live right now as you're watching this, as once again we enter the transfer window with, well, a lot of stuff to be done, but some signings that have already sort of set ourselves up for this window. We've got a lot of shopping to do, hopefully just to take that next step this year to build that team that could really start to make things happen. But this year has been a very, very interesting one indeed, so strap yourselves in. As always, drop a like on the video if you enjoy these. It really does help out the channel, as well as lets me know that you want me to keep doing them. And of course, all the VODs can be found over on the second channel, link in the description to Straight Red Card if you want to watch them through in their entirety. They are good fun. It allows you to keep up with them in addition to the recaps. Now, I realised that last season I actually forgot to do a little bit of a highlight about some of the best players over the course of the year and show more of the player stats. Don't worry, that's been rectified this year. I will be talking a lot about that later in the video, along with all sorts of other stuff. Before any of that, of course, it is time to talk about the youth intake that we had this year. And, well, we'll see. I'll just jump into our best player. And this is he. This is Gabriel Rus, a Romanian left-sided player. Now, he's actually improved from what we can tell about his potential since he joined us. He was originally 3.5 stars, and it's now moved up to sort of 3.5/4.5 stars. So it's certainly something there for him potentially. Decent consistency, decent teamwork. The problem is that he's very left. Well, actually, no, he's got a right foot, just can't finish or have any composure about him. But he has scored a few goals in the under-19 qualifying for Romania, which is pretty impressive, as well as some good support performances in friendlies. But we were predicted a really bad youth intake, and we got one, standard, 1/2 star. So to actually get a player of this kind of quality in that period, I don't know. I'm not overly bothered. It's certainly one of the better youth intakes we've had for a while. And look at his value. It's nearly £1 million in value for a 16-year-old. But now let's take a little look at some of the youngsters and how they've been performing out on loan, because there's been some interesting prospects this year. The biggest surprise of all is Dylan Collins, who smashed a load of goals for our underage sides last year. Bray Wanderers, our affiliate side, came in and said they wanted to loan him, so we did. Man got 17 goals last season in the second tier of Ireland, with 6 finishing and 9 composure, as Bray went on to have one of their best seasons in ages. Not quite good enough to get promoted, but what a season from the youngster. And I don't even know why. I think it's just because he's got that aerial presence and really good heading, and he must have scored a lot of headed goals. But he had a brilliant year, did Dylan Collins. It's a fair play to the guy. Renatas Petkus spent another season on loan at Dundalk. This year, 11 goals and 6 assists for the Lithuanian international. Not bad by any means. Maybe didn't get that many games. Only started 10 times. So he's done okay off the bench for them. Not bad. Then there was Nathan Hosker, the 24-year-old Englishman we signed ages ago from Bristol Rovers. Spent the season out on loan at Dundalk as well. Sadly, will be joining Dunfermline at the end of the season, which is a disappointment, but it is what it is. 3 goals and 14 assists for them in the top flight, including playing in the Europa Conference League for Dundalk this year. So he definitely helped them with that. But yeah, it's a shame that he's going to be leaving Ireland entirely, as they just failed to basically be like, come on, I want to put a bid in. But I would argue the biggest sort of success out on loan this year is Petar Lucian Sablo, who I mentioned last season was a player I was looking to get out on loan. I said I wasn't on loan to Skamrock Rovers, but in the end, they were the only team that were interested. And I think I'm very glad we did. To be fair, started 20 games this season, at 18 years old, 11 substitute appearances, 9 goals and 5 assists for Skamrock. That's exactly the type of player that we want to keep going out on loan to players to keep boosting other sides in this league. The only other player who's gone out on loan this year is Nemanja Kuzmarovic, the young Serb. Unfortunately, we were unable to get him to agree to a loan to any of the other Irish sides because none of them were interested for whatever reason. And as a result, he did have to go back on loan to Serbia. But 8 goals in 16 matches. He'll come back to us next season, and hopefully we can get him on loan to a different side. The one thing he does lack is his composure, but he's still a 1-in-2 striker for them, so I'll take that. Signings. This has been a bit of a weird season when it comes to signings. We really didn't make that many at all towards the beginning of the season, and didn't actually strengthen the squad that much throughout either. It was more about trying to target a few people, which we did towards the end, and I'm hoping that our squad in January will actually strengthen more so than it has lately, because usually it's the summer where a lot of our big business is done. This year it feels like it's going to be a little bit different, so let's jump in. First out was Matty Pollock, £20,000, went to Wycombe Wanderers. He wasn't getting game time here anymore, and it felt like the right thing to do. First in, of course, was Kuzmarovic, who joined us and then immediately went out on loan. It's really been very thin on signings this season. You'll see what I mean. The first player that actually did join us was Gavin Osborne, on loan from Manchester United, but more importantly, he's extended his loan for a second season, has Big Gav. 43 appearances this season, 7 goals, 10 assists. Really strong season for him. He's just a great passing maker. He's got good physicals, he's got reasonable mentals in a few areas, great first touch, good technique. He's just a solid player. He likes big matches, he's got good teamwork, and having him for another season from Man United next year was really, really pleasing, because we really did struggle to have, we were really running out of central midfielders, honestly. We did get Alan back for another year from Rangers on loan as well, so that's helped us, but it was getting really thin on the ground at times, and having someone like Gavin Osborne in there was very helpful. Unfortunately, he did pick up an injury which saw him miss some matches, like a nice little chunk in the middle of the season when we could have really done with him, and he was unable to be registered for our first couple of Champions League setups. But after that, he had a really solid season, so I'm happy with him. And on a loan, where we're actually paying more now than we were originally. Originally, it was like 4k, but this is the repeated version of the loan. We also brought in this man, Oren McGowan, a 19-year-old youth player that was playing for Wolverhampton Wanderers. And, I mean, I'm just going to move my camera to the side here so you can see this. And when I say playing, oh, I mean playing. Man had been playing for Wolves. We suspect potentially could have made his first team debut at maybe not 15. I don't think that's allowed, but 16 definitely. But it was not going well for him. The man conceded 87 goals in a Premier League season in 36 games, which means potentially Wolves could have conceded even more, and yet they were in the Premier League the following season as well. And he did improve slightly, but that is incredible. We almost took him from them as a bit of a meme because he was number 3 on the next-gen list. And we were like, how is that possible? But it was. There he was. We took a complete punt, 650k to and he was Irish too, which made sense because, again, we could have trained at Nation then. We needed a backup goalkeeper, particularly one who had some homegrownness to him, and it was him. He came in, and he actually was at the time 5-star potential. Mental. Has played a few times for us this season, even including a game in the Champions League at one point, which is staggeringly good. So he's done okay. And, a few league appearances here and there. He's done all right. Actually had some really good performances in the league. So we've now got a solid backup keeper that I just don't understand the whole thing with Wolves. The fact that he conceded 156 goals in 76 appearances. And he's 19. The man's nearly at 100 appearances in his career, and he's 19. Mental. And literally the last signing of the lot, not even a joke, that we made over this entire season that actually is with us currently, was Ancor Esteban. Joined us on a free transfer from Leicester City. I mean, that was a bit of a no-brainer for us, really. He's been so damn good this season. He obviously only played half a season because he joined us midway through, and what a difference he does make. 2 goals and 2 assists this year, but he's just so stable at the back. Actually only featured in 6 league games because, of course, when he joined us, we had all sorts of other stuff going on, so he tended to be featuring more in European games and cup matches and there along the like. Point is, he's a fantastic centre-back, and we needed that this year. We didn't manage to find another totemic guy to go alongside him just yet. Milosevic is slowly turning into that potentially for us, and obviously we've got Stojanovic on the right hand side and Petroni and Rakov. It's not too bad, but bringing in Esteban definitely does make us a better side. The mentals on him alone are fantastic. The only thing he's maybe lacking is a bit of heading and a bit of jumping reach, but he's still 14. He's not bad by any means, and he's a very solid centre-back at this level. So we've tied him down for 3 years now, so that's really good for us, I'd say. But that genuinely was the last of the signings that actually joined us. Now, don't worry, we were still busy trying to harvest some players for the future, and I'm going to quickly run you through a couple of those now because there are quite a few of them, and big money has been spent. The first of which was on Stefan Carpanu from Cluj over in Romania, particularly with the fact that we were looking at the situation with Tunçel, that young Turkish lad we had, constantly causing trouble, constantly complaining. We tried to loan him out 10 times last season to fulfill a promise, and he still got annoyed at us. Then, when I did finally agree a loan for him, he turned down the contract. Infuriating. So I've decided that I've kind of had enough of him. We'll ship him on at first opportunity and replace him with Stefan Carpanu. Now, he has cost us nearly £3 million, but you have to sometimes shop a bit higher to get into the big leagues with these guys. He's very quick. He's reasonably tall as well. Decent crossing and dribbling for someone who's only 18 years old. He will be a homegrown player because he'll join us before his 19th birthday. He's got 12 tackling to start with. Definitely needs to work on his marking and his sort of defensive positioning. But I think he's a good piece of business for this sort of... I mean, we're never going to... It's always going to be tough with the money on a player like this, but I feel like starting to find a few of these kind of guys is going to make a huge difference in maybe 2 or 3 seasons when they really do start to develop, particularly as now he's got that extra little half star there that you love to see, which he ironically didn't before. So very happy with him. In that same bracket, we're signing another Romanian, Mihai Elecu. Now, of course, he will not be a homegrown player for us. We were kind of on the fence. We had 2 guys that were potentials to join us. There was him and a guy from Denmark. The Danish guy was slightly worse and slightly cheaper. But unfortunately, we got into contract issues, basically, where you get the purple thing in the contract negotiations where no matter what you offer them there, they just turn the contract down anyway because they won't tell you what they actually want. So disappointing. Eventually, we went back in for Mihai Alaku. £2.9 million he's going to cost us, but we needed more depth into that attacking midfield zone. And look at the physicals and mentals on this guy at the age of only 19 years old. Good passing, good vision, could improve, but he's also got decent finishing and composure to play in that role as well. So I think he was very much worth it, and he's so incredibly agile and quick. I love players like that. He's consistent, good personality, reasonable determination, even got a bit of flair and decisions to go with it. I think he's a very good player. Now, he is going to be on a star player contract. However, there's a thing you can do where you can drop their expectations to important player the day they join, and they shouldn't complain. That's the plan anyway. Or was it? Did we manage to get him down to important? Either way, that's what we're going to have to do because we can't afford the star player situation that we had before, but I still think he's a cracking signing for us, and we need to really start putting some financial clout on teams, and we weren't really doing it. So now we're actually splashing that cash a bit more because we've got it. Oh boy, do we have it. Then a couple of slightly cheaper picks. He's not even fully scouted yet, technically. It's Rastislav Sluka, an 18-year-old Slovak for that right-hand side. Again, okay crossing and dribbling. He's only 18. He's got reasonable physicals, but he's cost us £600,000 from Slovan Bratislava. You might look at that and go, that's the very end. Yeah, ironically, originally they wanted 1.3 million. Once again, proving that the agent offer thing that you ask the agent is complete nonsense. We had so many times during this like period of transfers, we'd see the thing here, you'd ask the agent, they'd adjust it, you'd go in, and they'd want twice as much as the highest end that the agent even predicted. What's the point? What is the point? But nevertheless, we picked him up anyway for 600k, and we just needed to start getting... He feels like another kind of guy like Sablo. Those kind of players, potentially. No jumping reach. The man can barely get off the floor. And the other of these players that we're coming in January is Kennedy Molaseyani of South Africa. It's a second South African joining us from SuperSport United. We're mainly looking at that potential that he can maybe have, hoping that he can maybe achieve it. The one problem for us is potentially the casual personality. We're not sure, but it was definitely worth the £220,000 punt that we took on him. That was really the key for us. It was the price. The fact that he was only available for 220k was worth the risk to see if this guy actually could be something special. So we've actually managed to bring in a few guys this time around. They'll join us in January, and hopefully we'll have the money left to find a few more, although we have exhausted a lot of our rather large transfer budget already. Still got a bit more though money, which we'll be spending over right now on stream. So let's get cracking, show you how the league season went. To the surprise of absolutely nobody, it's been a very straightforward year. Last year was a bit more tense for us. This year, no such problems at all. Just smashing wins straight off the bat. Did lose to St. Pat's, annoyingly, with Robert Bonner grabbing a goal, but after that, it was just wins. We actually went through a weird spell where we won, 6 consecutive league games by 4 goals to nil. And ironically, it was actually 7 games out of 8 we won by 4 goals to nil. Very, very strange that we were able to do that, but nevertheless, it was the case. We were just smashing teams left and right with Emmett Doran scoring goals, obviously, and Moses Mayeni, and our whole front line was just firing on all cylinders. Took a draw against Dundalk, but you could see it's just relatively straightforward, barely conceding goals. I think we conceded 3 league goals or something in like our first 16 matches or something mental like that. Another draw against Dundalk later on here as well. They were really the only team that was taking points off of us at times. Sligo, of course, did get a draw against us here as well. Some nice little comfortable cup victories. Fairly straightforward league results that don't really surprise you very often. Again, some more draws here. We actually had 3 straight draws here to sort of sort this bit out because we had a lot of fixtures around this sort of time as well. But you can see we actually only lost 1 game domestically this season, and that was the match against St. Pat's. Still not quite got that unbeaten season yet, but bloody hell, what a league season it has been for us again. As we did manage to win everything. We won the President's Trophy, we won the Champions Cup, we won the Cup Final, we won the League Cup, and of course, well, to no surprise of no one, we won the league as well. In the end, an absolute canter. 31 points we won the league by. Ironically, not our highest ever points tally. We got 95 2 seasons ago, but this year, it was just Dundalk were not as good this year, unfortunately. They were still better than everybody else comfortably, and it was Derry and Skamrock Rovers that ended up getting into the European places in the end. Just as well we did win the cup, because otherwise Waterford would have been in there. Farps had another relatively poor season. The minus 59 goal difference would definitely suggest that, but Waterford beat UCD in the playoffs, so they will stay in the top flight. Moses Mayeni, top scorer in the top flight this season, 25 goals for the South African. Doran still had a cracking season. He just got used in other areas as well, but just an all-round brilliant season for us again. Domestically, not that you'd be that surprised about it by now. That is now 6 consecutive league titles and 7 in 8. We've dominated the domestic situation as we figured we would do. Now it's really about what we can do on the continent, Europe. You might notice again that we moved up to 33rd in the overall competitive rankings this season. Obviously that's not super important, but it might help us gain potentially rep ourselves because we're still busting after that 3-star reputation. Not quite got it yet, still 2.5 stars, but eventually it will come, my hope, within the next couple of seasons, because that really is when the gateway to the world opens up. Once you get 3-star reputation, South American players are just begging to join you. But right now, we're not quite in that position, and we have to really be picky about who we pick up in those positions. So as you know, last time when we spoke, we were in the Europa League knockouts, and we were very comfortably through. 7-0 on aggregate against PAOK to get through to the second knockout stage. Very, very nice work from the lads. And to show that kind of quality at that stage in the tournament was very pleasing. Sadly, though, we ended up playing against Ron in the next round and lost 2-1 at home to them. I'll show you the stats, as I think we could count ourselves a little bit unlucky to have lost this match 2-1. Howcroft had to bail us out, really, to give us even a hope in the second game. And I've got to be honest, I think we were unlucky in the second match as well. Went there and so nearly took them all the way. 3 goals were scored in extra time in this one. When Doran scored that equaliser for us, I thought that was us through. But it wasn't to be the case, sadly. And as you'll see, once again, I think we were very unfortunate over both legs not to win this tie against Ron. And it does show you that we've got some quality to be able to take these teams to bat like this with, Doran scoring another brace, Sharif getting goals in there too. We were very, very good over both games against them. And we've had this a bit in some of our European knockouts where we've actually played quite well. Similarly how we were against Leicester and Basel in the past, and just not quite got the luck of the draw as it was. In terms of the way things have broken for us in the matches, just wasn't quite our day, sadly. We had a red card in this match as well, if I recall correctly. Yes, we did. Milosevic was sent off at the start of extra time, and that really did cost us. But never mind, it was still a good season for us there, getting to the second knockout rounds of the Europa League. Nice progression. We're seeing regularly into the knockouts of the Europa League now, which is very important. Although I do wonder what could happen if we ever just randomly went into the Europa Conference League, and because I think we could probably go all the way and win that, maybe, if we were ever to find ourselves in a position to do that. Problem is, we're not really... I don't think we're going to play in it ever again. But not to worry, as the Champions League came back around, we found ourselves against Glentoran and eventually put them to the sword. 8-2 in the end it was. You'll see that Doran got 4 goals in the first leg, and Millie got all 3 goals in the second leg, including a penalty to allow us to get only a 3-2 home victory against them, admittedly. They did get a couple of late ones, but it was 8-2 in the end, and it got easier. As in the following round, weirdly, we were 2-0 up away in Latvia against Valmiera, and then they scored in the 89th and 91st minute, and I was like, oh god. That's really bad. Except it didn't turn out that way, as in the home leg we beat them 9-0. Makes you wonder what the hell happened in that first game, doesn't it, really? But there you go. 4 for Emmett, 3 for Moses as well. Gavin and Milosevic chipping in as well. Played at Pat Kennedy Park this one instead of Homan Park. Don't really know why. But that then put us on a collision course with who else but Ludogorets. A 6-0 trashing of them in Bulgaria with another hat-trick for Emmett Doran. Another brace for Millie. It just kept on going. Followed up with a nice comfortable home victory with 2 more goals for Emmett Doran. The man just keeps on smashing goal after goal for us this year. Eventually his powers will fade, but they're not fading yet. And then last up, we were drawn in the Champions playoff path against Bodø of Norway, who were having a pretty good time of it so far. But a 3-0 victory in Norway with 2 goals from Allen and 1 from Moses, as Emmett was injured for this match, which was terrifying for us. But to go to Norway and win 3-0, oh, made us so happy. And then we were able to pick them off in the home leg as well. Osborne's early red card did scare us a little bit, but we managed to get a goal in the 35th minute to go 4-0 up on aggregate and see out the tie and qualify for the group stages for the 2nd consecutive season and our 3rd attempt at it, which is allowing a bit more money to start flowing into the club, which is very, very important, and of course it helps with reputation. And the best thing was, our group was Real Madrid, Celtic and Sporting. And you might look at that and go, that's not a bad group, is it really? You could get something there. How did that break down? Well, I'll tell you. Celtic were the pot 1 team, Real Madrid were the pot 2 team, we were the pot 3 team, and Sporting were the pot 4 team. Not how you would have picked any of those positions, but that's how it was. We managed to get pot 3 this year by a single coefficient point over Dynamo Kiev, and I think that made a massive difference. As our first Champions League match was against Sporting at home, Jordan Millward's thunder strike from the edge of the area after 17 minutes was enough to get us our first ever group stage victory in a Champions League match. And Celtic took a point at the Bernabeu during that match as well, which didn't really help us in any way, because we felt that we could just as easily come 2nd in this group as we could come 4th, and that would be bad. But just to get our first ever win there, and 2.6 million you get, 2.39 million I think it is, for getting that victory, that's literally paid for one of those signings by itself. Crazy. And then the good news just kept on coming. We took a very fortunate draw at Celtic Park with a 0-0 and suddenly had 4 points from our first 2 Champions League matches, which is double the number that we got last season when we managed to come 3rd. As we then found out when we hosted Real Madrid, Allen's goal on 12 minutes gave us the lead. Marcus Rashford put a penalty through on 54 minutes, sadly. It was bad decision, just, when I say bad decision, terrible defending from us to give away the penalty. And we so nearly held on, but then we had this weird-ass highlight where the ball was cleared across the pitch. Our entire back 4 just stood completely still, not watching it, and the Real Madrid players were able to just sort of go through. It was very, very strange in the 89th minute to give the win for Real Madrid, but we pushed them hard. Wasn't quite so good when we went to the Bernabeu, though, as we were 4-0 down after just 40 minutes in this one. It was always going to be a tough one. But Emmett Doran did score a goal for us away from home at Real Madrid, which was nice to see him score in the group stage for us there, but it was definitely causing problems elsewhere, as the group was by no means settled at this point. And things only got worse as we went away to Sporting and lost, with Guillermo Santos' goal in the 62nd minute. And at this stage, we were then bottom of the group because our head-to-head with Sporting was now dead level, but of course, as a slight result of the heavier results against Real Madrid, we were now sitting bottom of the group with our goal difference and in a real dodgy situation. And going into those final day of the Champions League season, Celtic were sat on 7 points, Sporting was sat on 5 points, and we were on 4 points, but with a worse goal difference than Sporting. So we knew that if we could get a draw against Celtic at home, and Sporting were to lose by enough goals against Real Madrid, then we would be able to leapfrog them into 3rd spot. But we also knew that due to our head-to-head against Celtic, would we get a victory against them, we would actually be able to leapfrog both of them and go into 2nd in the group. And that is exactly what we went and bloody did. Tom Howcroft in the 29th minute gave us the lead, and Moses Mayeni wrapped it up for us in the 89th minute to secure Treaty United a place in the Champions League knockouts. It's only the 3rd time we've ever even got into the group stages, and we qualify for the knockouts. And I think we just about deserved the win on the night. It was a very cagey game. Celtic had some chances. We had some chances. Ironically, didn't take them. You'll see on here there were some big chances in this game, ironically for Emmett Doran, that just didn't come off for us in this match. But we were able to get the result. And in the end, as you can see, 7 points on the board. We beat them as a result of our head-to-head against them. That draw at Celtic Park was absolutely crucial in this group. group for us to get our 7 points and ended up finishing above them despite having, well, not the worst goal difference. As you can see, Sporting had the worst one in the end. Now, the weird thing was, had we only drawn against Celtic, we'd have actually been level goal difference-wise with Sporting, but we suspect that they would have actually... No, they wouldn't have gone through. Oh, no, they would. Yeah, they would have gone through on goals scored in the end, which would have been terrifying. But the end of the day, we are through. Knockouts of the Champions League. That's another 8 million quid, by the way, just in round appearance money. Now, you might think, wow, you could go a little bit further. No, no. Because sadly, our first knockout round is against Paris Saint-Germain. There was very few good ties. The best possible opponents for us was Milan and Dortmund, and even then, we would have struggled massively, but you just never know. I think against PSG, we've kind of had it, but just getting there is really something. And it also means that we'll have a nice sort of reasonably early part of the season that won't be congested too much with European fixtures. But I don't know. I wonder if we could have gone further if we'd actually gone into the Europa League this year. And I feel like this is not going to be the start of something brilliant. I don't think we're going to be getting out of our groups every season anytime soon, for sure. But I think it was just nice to test the waters of what we could do in a knockout round. And we've become the first Irish side, obviously, to ever do so. So that is certainly an achievement for the year. And it's been an all-round very good season. And as a result of all that, of course, our budgets... Now... We've got 5 million there. Now, obviously, I can move some of this into the wage budget, which we're going to have to do anyway. Really, we're looking at around about 4 million in transfer budget now, with about 40,000 in wages to spend, which means a couple of free transfers could be doable. Just got to find the guys at the first place. And then maybe a couple more big signings in the sort of £1 to £2 million range to really strengthen this squad. But it's definitely building in the right direction now. And that's exciting. It's just going to take us a little while before we really are going to be able to splash any big cash, because I don't want to waste the money because of our squad rep and the way that the player values will just drop. If we signed a guy for 5 million, he would never be worth that when he joined us, and we'd never be able to sell him for that. Well, not never, but currently. And we're just questing after that 3-star rep. That's our biggest goal. But I just want to take you through some of the sort of standouts of the season. 24-year-old Emmett Doran, 3 caps for Ireland now. Did actually get a couple of games at the World Cup or the Euros for them. 47 goals this season and 9 assists. He has slipped off a little bit. 65, 50-something, only 47 this year, but still fantastic. 14 in the Champions League. Still 14 in the Champions League is mental. This man's European record is staggeringly good. He only got 18 in the league as well, but he only played less than half of the league matches. Still got another, 15 goals over another 8 cup matches, just to fill his boots. He's a cracking player. He's still got 4 years left on his deal. And you might notice as well, actually, important player. So we managed to get him down. What happened was Spurs came in with a bid of 800k, or 1.2 million, 800 rising. And I said no. He complained. I then got him to agree to stay with the influential player thing. We then offered him a new contract, and he took a lower wage and a lower squad status. So he's not complained once all season. Has been nothing but a joy to work with. What a guy. Mayeni has also had a staggeringly good season. 33 starts this year, 41 goals for the South African, and 6 assists this year. He's been flying. Played a lot in the league, a little bit less in the Champions League, but has still chipped in as and when we've needed him to. 20 starts in the league this year and 25 league goals is fantastic for the young man. Very happy with our strike force at the moment. They are banging goals in. And on the left, a man who deserves immense credit as well is Jordan Millward. 26 goals and 23 assists this season from that left-hand side. 6 goals in the Champions League, a lot of assists in there too. 14 goals in the league and 11 assists. He had a little bit of a drop-off towards the end of the season as his form started to wane, rather weirdly, right when we needed it most. But still, 49 goal contributions for Millie this season is fantastic, and he's just going to be irreplaceable at the moment until someone better comes along. Really, the only thing that's stopping him from being an absolute baller is maybe if he had better finishing. If he just had that, a sort of 12-13 finishing to go with it, he would be stunningly good. And he's already stunningly good. In the midfield, of course, central midfield mostly, Tom Howcroft, who's really just had a bit of an Indian summer to his career, even though he's only 24. I kind of thought he maybe lost a bit of it. But this year, 7 goals, 15 assists again. Solid performer for us. Another 45 appearances for the club. He's sort of come back around a little bit. And he's almost been on the verge of an Ireland call-up as well, which is interesting because he was trained in England. Well, technically not. But he is English, but he's now become Irish. Alan, of course, has been back on loan from Rangers. I'm going to try and get him back on loan next season again if we can, but it's hard to say if that's going to actually come off this time. They seem to be a bit more antsy about it, which is why we've got that guy coming in. But again, 6 goals, 18 assists for Alan. I would say probably his best ever season for the club. Ironically, a year and a half after he technically left the club for absolutely no money. Still bitter about that. Barry Cunningham has still been doing mad things at left back for us. I feel like he's probably kind of peaking a little bit now. He still has 3 Ireland caps, which is very impressive, but I don't know if he's going to be able to go much further than where he is. But still, 45 appearances for the club this year, 3 assists, no goals. He's just sort of been doing left back things, basically. And I feel like he's kind of at his peak, and eventually he will get overtaken by somebody, hopefully that Romanian man. But for the moment, he's a fantastic asset to the squad, to be fair, and he's not even earning that much money here, so he's very, very welcome here. In the middle, once again, Anton Rakov has just been so damn good. He's such a good defender. He just does things for us. I think it's that jumping reach that helps. 42 appearances, just the 2 goals this year, but he's just such a stalwart and part of our backline that until we can get some serious quality, and it's going to be him and Lesteban, really. On the right, though, a bright spark of the year. Sinisa Stojanovic has had a breakout season at right back. An absolutely stunning year from him. Still only 19 years old. He completely overwhelmed Petroni for the position this year, in the end. 37 appearances. But the thing is, the man scored 6 goals and 8 assists from right back this year. Assists I can understand, that's a sensible amount, but the fact that he's got 6 goals, and in one game he actually scored twice, he's got a bit of goal scoring about him, which is surprising, and I'm very much here for it. He is a fantastic player. Every single month I get a news article saying he's increasing his ability in training. He's just so good, and he's one of the players that is wanted by, well, Milan are now interested. That could be a problem. Porto, Benfica, there's a lot of big clubs interested in him, so I think we've got a hell of a talent on our hands here. Bart Verbruggen, of course, still our first team goalkeeper, and I think he will be for the foreseeable future, really. It's going to be a long while until we can find someone that's better than him at the moment. I wish his reflexes were a bit better, really, but he's still such a fantastic keeper that's been so good for us for the past 5 years. Just can't say anything bad about him. The man's got how many clean sheets? 32 clean sheets this season in 55 games. Other notable players, of course, Juan Pablo Chavera is obviously still developing nicely, still only 20 years old in that midfield zone. Still played 40 games for us this season. Certainly no scratch. He definitely did drop off a little bit towards the end of the season, but there's still a great player here. There's, of course, Sinisa Milosevic, the centre-back I was talking about. He still needs to work on that heading, and it's not really going up at the moment, despite me really training him there, which is a shame, but I do still think there's a hell of a player under here, and he still played 45 games this year. There's, of course, Dickie Franks over on the right-hand side. Did get some more game time, only 2 starts, but 20 substitute appearances for him this year. He's definitely finding more form, or more game time this year, but he really needs a loan more than anything. And there's also a Michael Sharif, still at the club, 25 years old now. He's been here for quite some time, hasn't really featured that much. 5 goals this season in 9 starts. Mostly when he has played, he's been off that left-hand side for us, so we can aim some angled balls out to him. But he's still a useful member of the squad, and I'm always happy to have Michael Sharif around, but his contract does end up next year, and we don't have a clause, so we'll have to see how we address that. Now, as for the other Irish sides in Europe, they were handed some very bad ties in the first round of the Europa Conference League, sadly. Dundalk got put against Nizhny Mostar, although I feel like they should have done better than losing 5-1 on aggregate to them. They did at least get a draw, which helps for coefficient. Skamrock Rovers were narrowly beaten, admittedly, by Hajduk Split, so they put in a better performance as well, getting a 1-1 draw at home. But the big winners, actually, were St. Pat's, as they beat Shakhtar Karagandhi, coming from 2 goals down in the first leg to win 4-1 at home, where they smashed them to pieces and did get through. So fair play St. Pat's. But sadly, they were comfortably swept aside by Lokomotiv Moscow in the next round, 5-0 on aggregate. We've just not had the best draws in this tournament lately. The last couple of seasons, they've had some really tough ones in that round, and it has definitely cost us. But I think it's going to be a while before this side of things really starts to take off, and we need to just do our part and slowly start building it out. But on the plus side, it's been a good year for us coefficient-wise. A 5.8. It's actually our best season currently on record, other than that one random one towards the very start. So we have made massive gains this season, and I suppose technically there is still room for more. It's not going to actually happen, though. But the key thing is, I feel like we're comfortably going to be, over the next 3 seasons, going to be able to make steady progress. I think we could be aiming for comfortably 5.8 to 6.5 seasons over the next couple of years. Because remember, I think we'd actually do better in the Europa League knockouts. I think there's room to grow through that a little bit and potentially have some closing on, even on maybe 7-point seasons, maybe, should we get the opportunity to do so. But I feel like every year for the next sort of 3, maybe even 4 years, we're going to be able to make steady progress, maybe gaining 2 or 3 points per season, which could really start to rack up when you look at where we need to go, because the gap is not that much, and that's the key thing. At the end of this season, if things stay as they are currently, we'll move above Croatia, above Romania, and above Slovakia, a 3-place gain to move us into 19th place. But you'll also notice just how close we are with Bulgaria as well for what would technically be 18th place after that as well. And the next big changes happen at 15th place. And really, it's not that far away from the likes of Ukraine. And it's definitely on the cards that if we have some solid seasons over the next few years, we can get into that position to finally get an extra European spot and start to get teams in slightly better rounds, and also prevent us from having to play quite so many qualifiers. So we're definitely now starting to see that progress, breaking into the top 20. And I think over the next 5 years, there is potential for us to get into that top 15 and really start making some moves then, particularly if we can keep improving in the meantime as well. Like, let's be honest, I think we can keep impressing, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start challenging in the latter stages of the Champions League at some point before we're probably even in the top 10 on the coefficient charts. But that's just how things go, innit? We're still sat behind Norway, which is who we started with on the last version of this save. So there's a lot of groundwork to be done, but we're still very much in the fight, and we can really start to get things done now. So the plan for next season is very simple, really. Find a couple more signings, which we'll be doing over on stream right now. Probably not actually going to find, although we'll probably find them, we just may not actually sign them up. That's usually how these things go. The point is, there actually are players joining us, which is nice. So join us over there and have a lovely old time with that. See what we can do against PSG. it would be awesome if we could maybe scrape a draw in one of the 2 matches, probably the home game if we had any chance. We're not going to get through against them, but if we could maybe nick a draw out of nowhere, just the coefficient points that could be worth might even be enough to see us overtake Bulgaria. Just for one season. It would be nice just to get that little extra point. Every single point matters at this stage. And then it's a case of concentrate on the league, get the league taken care of nice and early, get a nice big lead there, bomb through those playoff rounds again, get back into the group stages, hope that we're still a pot 3 team. That could easily go back to 4th last year because of the way the teams were made up. We actually dropped points and ended up getting in a higher pot. You know how it goes. But we'll have to see. That's really our play for the moment. And obviously keep trying to get players out on loan. Some of those guys that you saw will probably end up on loan next season. That's the hat. That's the hope anyway. So, if you've enjoyed this, drop a like. That'd be freaking fantastic. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Stream on Twitch, obviously, right now. That's where this is. And yeah, I will see you guys over there very, very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Hold your gun. Capybara. Bye-bye.